There is fight back to the agenda, however. My next guest is a sponsor of the Digital ID Repeal Bill of 2024 that was introduced into the Parliament in June. Senator Ralph Babet was elected in the 2022 federal election. He's a champion of conservative Australian values, smaller government and in individual and national sovereignty. He joins us live from Melbourne. Senator Ralph Babet, welcome to TNT.
Thank you for having me on your show. I'm glad to be here. And like you said, these things start out as being non-compulsory, voluntary, and before you know it, hey, guess what? Do you want to live your life? Well, you'd better sign up or else you'll be an outcast in society. That's what we're looking at here.
What support are you getting for the Digital Repeal Bill, and where do we go with it and from here?
Well, look, less than a month after the bill received royal assent, it received royal assent on the 30th of May, 2024. I think it was 26th of June, my fellow senators and I, we put up a bill to just simply repeal it. So Senator Antic, Senator Canavan, Senator Hanson, Senator Rennick, and Senator Roberts. So we just want to repeal the entire thing entirely. That bill, my friend, that bill was rushed through the Senate without debate. Of course, supported by the Greens, supported by Labor, of course, obviously, the Jackie Lambie Network, Lydia Thorpe, David Pocock, they were all on board. Now, this is the important thing. I want to drill this home into the minds of your listeners right now.
Yep.
This bill was passed by Labor. Okay, fine. But it is not a Labor Party idea. This bill started off life with the Liberal Party. This is a Liberal Party idea. They just couldn't get it through in time. And then Labor has come along and said, hey, we like the idea of that. Let's grab it and we'll ram it through. So what's going on here? I want people at home to understand this one simple fact. Labor and Liberal are only there to give you the illusion of choice. It is an illusion of choice. It is designed to quell dissent. It is designed to shut you up. Not happy with Party A, vote for Party B. Party B is no good. Back to Party A. A is no good. Back to B, and back and forth and back and forth, and so on it goes. But the globalist agenda that will keep marching forward, that will not change. It will keep. It doesn't matter who sits in the big office. It can be Peter Dutton tomorrow or somebody else, some other puppet. The agenda will not change. Labor and Liberal, they only defer on very inconsequential issues. They'll fight like cats and dogs. But on the big ticket things, they're the same. Now, this bill is passed. I will try my best to repeal it, but I can only repeal it if you vote more people like me into the Senate and into the House. It is a dark day for democracy, my friend. This bill is the most dangerous thing. I'm sorry, I'm having a rant. It is more dangerous to our nation than a standing army. If an army was coming over the hill to attack our country tomorrow, it will be less dangerous than this digital ID bill. It has the potential to completely ruin life as you know it today and hand all power and control to globalist governments and the corporations that they work hand in glove with.
And yet the key parties tell us, it was a no-brainer because this is just making things convenient. I don't believe them for a second, Senator.
Look, the worst things are going to be done to us in the future because of convenience, or the other one of their buzzwords that they love so much, because of safety. It's for your convenience. It's for your safety. Don't you want to be safe? Not the idea of safety that you have in mind, globalists. I'd rather have my sovereignty and my dignity and make decisions for myself. Thank you very much. Now, let me tell you very quickly about what this bill can do.
Yeah.
If you completely digitize your life, which is what's going to happen, which is what's happening already, this device here can very easily control it. This device is a great tool. It's a great tool. Look what it's done for us as a species. But this device here can also be the biggest jailer as well. Let's say, as an example, Mr. or Mrs. Citizen, or just as one example, you go to your supermarket. You say, I'd like to eat red meat tonight. You tap your card. Sorry, you cannot have red meat from this supermarket, Mr. or Mrs. Citizen. The reason is that you've gone over your carbon quota for this month or this quarter.
You bought steaks on Sunday.
You bought steaks on Sunday. You can't have it this week because it goes over your carbon allowance. This is just one example, but it's a realistic example of where technology like this will lead.
Yeah.
When we design technology, it has to be designed in mind with tyranny, where we design laws, I should say, laws and technology. Think about it with tyranny in mind, because all governments are inherently tyrannical. They always throughout history, governments only want more power and more control. Be very wary of this digital ID bill. It's dangerous.
Yeah, well said, well said. Now, a couple of international issues I want to raise with you. I'll get to the UK in just a second, but Australian stocks closed down 3.7% on Monday, wiping out more than $100 billion from the stock market. They've stabilised somewhat today. That is the biggest fall since the COVID lockdown era. Markets are crashing worldwide. How can Australia survive what looks to be a trajectory towards a recession?
Well, let's talk about the US for a second, because let's be honest, if the US if they get a cold, so do we. We're going to sneeze. So the US is in massive amounts of debt right now, $35 trillion of national debt. Interest payments on that debt is roughly about 76% of all the income taxes that are collected. Roughly about that. So will the next financial crisis be driven by government debt? But maybe. Well, it certainly appears so, but of course, only time will tell. Now, let's go back to Australia right now. The statistics reported last week by ASIC, right? ASIC showed us that business failures surged to a record high in the past financial year. So 11,000 approximately insolvencies, up 40% on the previous year and 124% more than in 21-22. According to the ABS data, there were only 163 or so thousand dwelling approvals in 23-24, weakest since 2011. Not a very good start to Labor's plan to build 1.2 million homes. Home approvals are down. But record high levels of migration, though, combined with the undersupply of housing, means that house prices have continued to rise. It's like a little Ponzi scheme that they have going on here. But let's think about what's happening in the world right now, okay? You've got a government which is, well, many governments are addicted to printing money. They're addicted to it. They need to adopt fiscal responsibility. That's what they need to do. They need to stop printing money, stop spending money that you don't have, guys. It's very simple. We can think of governments like we think of households. Right. If you're managing a household, you don't just keep racking up the credit card debt.
But they just want to bribe us.
They want to bribe
That's all they want to do, Ralph.
Everything is free. Free this, free that. Nothing is free, my friend. Everything has to be paid back, and with interest. Let's look at housing affordability right now in Brisbane. So in Brisbane, a house costs today 8.1 times your income. In Adelaide, 9.7 times your income. In Melbourne, 9.8 times your income. And of course, in Sydney, 13.8 times your income. Life is unaffordable. Here we go, though. Here we go. Is it by design or is it not by design? I think it's by design, because the World Economic Forum told us you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. They're creating a nation of tenants, a nation of renters. Who's going to own all the houses? Well, BlackRock and State Street said that they wouldn't mind owning all the houses so that you can own nothing and be happy. They are the people at the top of the pyramid of power. Let me be clear. Your elected politician is a puppet. Whether they know it or not, they are a puppet. They are beholden to special interests behind the scenes. It doesn't matter who sits in the big office. They are creating a world where you literally will own nothing. You will live paycheck to paycheck. You'll be subordinate to big government and big corporates, and you will do as you're told. They are creating a brave new world all around us right now. We need to reject these globalist ideologies at a national level. We need to reduce migration intake to more sustainable levels. We need to deregulate our economy as much as possible and allow private individuals, private citizens to create wealth. Yes. The government, the Labor government, has created a legislative burden so heavy on private enterprise, on private business, where small and medium businesses are closing at a rapid rate, and big corporates globalist corporations are coming in and swallowing them up.
Because there's no one in that cabinet with any experience or prowess in this regard. Not one.
It's not an accident. It's not an accident. Big business is working big corporates are working hand in glove with government to destroy everyone else so that they can centralize wealth and power. This is not a conspiracy theory. It is what's happening right now in our nation. You got to say no to these globalist organizations, these globalist minded people in the halls of parliament. And you got to send guys like me there, or you're not going to have a country.
Okay, I want to talk immigration in the UK. We'll get to that after a very quick break on TNT.news.
I'm Naheem Hines, professional football player and proud supporter of the Muscular Dystrophy Association. My mom was diagnosed with muscular dystrophy when I was 14, and I watched her struggle. But MDA helped her get the best treatments and care, and they also help kids like my buddy Ethan.
My name is Ethan, and I'm 12 years old. Thanks to the Muscular Dystrophy Association and people like you, I have more hope than ever before. From day one, they've treated me like family at my local care center. MDA is the only one that funds over 150 care centers across the U.S. to help provide state-of-the-art care for adults and kids like me.
For over 70 years, MDA has been transforming the lives of people living with muscular dystrophy, ALS, and other related neuromuscular diseases. They fund the research for breakthrough treatments, care, and cures. And MDA provides support to thousands of families like mine and Ethan's in communities like yours. Thanks to MDA, kids and adults can live life to its fullest. Join us and learn more at mda.org today.
A better business tip from TNT Radio. One reason people tune in to TNT Radio is often because they're loyal to a specific show or personality. Our personalities have been a part of people's daily routine, and people continue to tune in. They trust TNT Radio and are highly engaged with the content. If you'd like more information about advertising on TNT Radio, simply fill out your details on our contact page and we'll be in touch. To find out more, go to tntradio.live.
For the news and views you can't hear anywhere else, it's today's News Talk, TNT.
Okay, Senator Ralph Babet, what are your thoughts on what's happening in the UK? I tell you what, all of a sudden we had protesters talking about loopholes in immigration and how the policies in the UK were allowing people who didn't want to be in the country into the country, and those who hated other individuals into the country as well. Then all of a sudden, in the last 4 days, we've had gangs with balaclavas yelling Allah Akbar, clashing with these same protesters. All of a sudden, Elon Musk says it's on the way to civil war. Keir Starmer does not know how to handle it. What a mess.
All right, so Keir Starmer. Keir Starmer knows exactly what he's doing. Keir Starmer is beholden to globalist special interests. Okay? That's what's happening here. So, obviously, the globalists want one thing. The globalists want power over individual nation states. In order to have power over an individual nation state, you must destroy that nation.
Disrupt
you must
it.
Destroy the culture. You must destroy its history. You must destroy any allegiance that the people who live there have to that nation state. The immigration policies which we're seeing, it's not just in the UK, it's all across the West, and it is going to it's already here in Australia, but it's going to blow up in Australia as well. These policies are designed to create parallel societies where people live in a nation, but they're not really part of that nation. They get to enjoy all the benefits without sharing any of the values, duties, cares, or responsibilities of that host nation because they have a completely different culture to the people in that host nation. It is not an accident. Keir Starmer, when he was asked in an interview not too long ago, he was asked, where would you rather be? Would you rather be in your nation's parliament or would you rather be in Davos? What did he say? He said, I would rather be in Davos. A leader's, let me say it like this. A general's duty is to his men. A father's duty is to his children. A nation's leader, his or her duty is to their people, not to the unelected globalists in Davos, which is what he said. You can go and find the footage. He said this. Now, people like Starmer, he's the wet dream of globalists everywhere. He is so willing to destroy his nation state, to hand over unfettered power to these unelected globalists. That's what he's doing. Now, mass immigration does not work. It does not work. Immigration only works when it's sustainable and it's from cultures that are either similar to yours or very close to the culture which you already have.
Yeah.
When you bring in people from cultures that have nothing in common with you, you destroy your own nation. Now, it is not racist to say this. I am an immigrant, but I'm an immigrant from a place that has a very similar culture to what we already had in Australia anyway. And that's the key. Now, they just want to drive, they absolutely want, even if they know that they're doing it or not, they want to drive society apart. They want to create parallel societies. They want to bring down individual nation states over time. They don't want you to love your country. They don't want you to love your history. They don't want you to love the architecture that you have. They want everything to be a bland grey and all the same so that they can bring in a global government, global police force, global finance, global laws, etc., etc. It's very clear if you look at it for more than 10 seconds and you're not completely retarded.
Greatest
That's what
disruptors.
they're trying to do.
They are the greatest disruptors. All right. You've long called to investigate excess deaths. March 2024, the Senate referred an inquiry into excess mortality to the Senate Community Affairs References Committee for inquiry and report by the 31st of August. What have you heard? Where is it up to?
Look, at the moment, it's kind of stalling. So we've had an issue with the committee. I've personally had an issue with them. So what they've done is they've decided not to publish quite a number of the submissions that were put in. So I've been contacted by many medical and data experts, and they've told me, hey, look, my submission has not been uploaded. What's going on? So basically, I'm in the process now of going back and forth with the committee, attempting to fight for transparency and fairness. But one thing that we need to keep in mind is that this committee is chaired by the Greens, and there are 3 Labor on that committee and 3 LNP. Now, the Greens and Labor, they voted when this was up in the Senate, not to have the committee in the first place. And that's who is the majority of people on this committee. Has that swayed their decision? I don't know. Look, maybe it hasn't, whatever. But, you know, my job is to fight for transparency. A lot of truth was revealed in our hearings, though, the one hearing that we had.
Yeah.
So we heard that there was suppression of deaths in the COVID vaccine trials. So this was obviously big news, suppression of deaths in the trials for the vaccine. And we also heard that when there was no community transmission of COVID, which was in Queensland at the time in 2021, when the vaccines were rolled out, deaths went up. So mortality went up, but there was no COVID in the community at that time. So I thought that was obviously very interesting. That's one of the things that we discovered. I'm going to keep pushing on this. We're not going to have a resolution to the whole, COVID period, I don't think anytime soon. The reason why is that the people, too many of the people that made those terrible decisions are still in positions of power today.
Yeah.
Either they're in Parliament, they're in the Senate, or they're in the House.
Well, they got the blood on their hands and they don't want to be caught out holding the baby, do they?
Well, of course. I mean, you don't have to be a genius to work this out. If the people that are in the bureaucracy, in the Parliament, were the ones that made the decisions, what drive do they really have to investigate themselves? Yep. It's like, okay, go and investigate. Of course, they're going to push back. Yep. So it's going to take time. It's going to take people like me hammering away at this for years until the truth finally comes out. But the truth will come out. I'm not going to put this down. I've picked it up. I'm going to run with it for as long as I'm in the Senate. And the person that comes in to replace me one day, hopefully they'll run with it. We will have a reckoning one day. It is going to happen, but it's not going to be quick. Unfortunately, I wish I had better news, but it is what it is.
Okay, one last one. We learnt yesterday that the terror alert has gone from possible to probable in this country. Should the government take some responsibility for having to do that?
Well, absolutely. I mean, this is the fault of the Labor government. It's their fault. You know, we've seen them do nothing, basically, when it comes to left-wing extremism. And this is what this is. This is left-wing extremism. The government doesn't talk about it. They don't call it out. They don't say enough is enough. And they keep importing people into our country from cultures that are not aligned with our culture.
Yeah.
I'm of the great view that if you come to Australia, you should leave behind your vendettas that you had in the country where you lived before. And you've obviously come to Australia because you realise that the country where you live right now is a crap hole. Don't lie to me and say it's not a crap hole and you love where you come from. Where you come from is a crap hole. And the reason that you moved to Australia is because it is a better country.
Yeah.
Let's honestly, that's the reason. Don't lie to me. So if you're going to come to Australia for a better life because it's a better country, don't turn it into where you came from.
Correct.
Don't turn it into that place. You left for a reason, my friend.
Yeah.
So I think that the government needs to, really slow down on immigration. That's key. But then they also have to call out the garbage that's happening here. Call out the left-wing extremism. Stop being okay with it. Stop turning a blind eye because you need the votes. Okay, your duty is to your nation. Okay, so to Mr. Albanese, I'd say, forget about your votes and just do what's right for the country. That's your job as a leader.
Ralph, great to have you on the program. I'll let you get back to real business. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Fantastic. From the United Australia Party, Senator Ralph Babet.